everyone. I'm Dana Perino along with Judge Jeanine Pirro, Richard Fowler, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Governor Gavin Newsom would like to speak to the manager. The Liberal governor earning the nickname of California Karen after snitching on a Target employee. Newsom was recalling a time when he personally witnessed a brazen theft unfold in the store and overheard an employee blaming him for it.
The woman says, "Oh, he's just walking out. He didn't pay for that." I said, "Well, why aren't you stopping him?" She goes, "Oh, the governor." Swear to God, true story. Oh, my mom's great. The governor lowered the threshold. There's no accountability. I said, "That's just not true." She looks at me twice and then she freaks out. She calls everyone over, wants to take photos. I'm like, "No, I'm not taking a photo. We're having a conversation. Where's your manager? How are you blaming the governor?" And it was, $380 later. And I was like, why am I spending $380? Everyone can walk the hell right out.
Right. But Newsom seems to be oblivious to the laws in his own state, namely Proposition 47. That's the law that many say embolden the criminals by letting them steal up to $950 worth of goods without facing any serious consequences. Retailers aren't the only businesses suffering, and Denny's in Oakland is shutting its doors for good after 54 years due to soaring crime. So there goes your grand slam. And Walgreens is closing down multiple locations across Boston. Well, that struck a nerve with Squad Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who seems to blame racial discrimination.
These closures are not arbitrary and they are not innocent. They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination. Shame on you, Walgreens. Walgreens is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that needs to put their money where their mouth is and stop divesting from Black and brown communities.
They are making this week feel very long, Greg.
Yes.
They make this week feel long.
It's almost Thursday. It is Thursday.
It is Thursday. Governor Newsom, oblivious?
I think he's amazing. I think we found 3 words to best describe him. Where's the manager? America needed a name for a male Karen, and it's Gavin. Gavin is such a great name for a male Karen. I feel bad for all the Gavins out there watching. There's probably like 300 or 400. But he did it. I didn't. Because he combines in that moment the sense of entitlement and the desire to complain. Right? That's the definition of what this person is. I'm surprised he didn't pull out his phone and start filming the poor clerk who's essentially given up. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. She's just given up because she's not allowed to do anything because then the insurance companies will come down. But in that moment, you saw an example of how liberal leaders are wholly divorced from the consequences of their politics. They're upstream from the damages they cause. No one's stealing escargots from the French Laundry. They're at Target stealing, razors and toothpaste. All the rest of us now have, when we walk into CVS, it's like we're inside a giant vending machine. Everything is locked up. But that's all because he lives upstream from the results of his policies. It's amazing that he's shocked about the most publicized problem in his state, mass theft. And it's something he's in charge of. This is like a guy slicing onions and can't figure out why he's crying. Or a president who's wondering this, how did this migrant crisis happen when he doesn't have a border? So and the fact that he's actually claiming, hey, but we're the 10th best on crime. How does that help this person at her job? It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin.
There
is a move to repeal Prop 47. This is Kamala Harris when she was the AG. That was sort of the era when the soft on crime bill came through. Now there's an effort to repeal it. 89% of voters support changing Prop 47, and the governor doesn't seem to be aware.
Well, I was in Target the other day, and everything had been cleared off of the shelves by shoplifters except just stacks of that sweater Greg's wearing.
Nice.
It's like the one thing they didn't steal.
Very good.
I love Newsom, and Gavin is a great name for a male Karen. He basically was like, don't you know who I am? And it was more of a blow to his ego that he wasn't recognized than the larceny that's taking place throughout his state. They are writing laws in California that make crime pay, and he's totally unaware of it. I have a suggestion for Gavin. Remember the show Undercover Boss?
Yeah.
Where bosses would dress as like the regular people on shift, and then they'd figure out what everybody thought of them. He should do that. Throw on one of those little glasses with the nose and the mustache, or even blonde wig, dress, whatever it takes. Go to the homeless shelters, go to the hood, go to the restaurants, and find out the truth, because that's the only way he's going to find out. Now, Ayanna Pressley, she represents Roxbury, that area in Massachusetts. They're closing down a lot of Walgreens, predominantly black area, and a lot of the people that work at the Walgreens, predominantly black, and they're getting ransacked, and they're assaulting employees, and they can't make money there. So she's saying it's racist to avoid crime. If you leave a criminal-infested area, that's racist. You're supposed to stay in the crime-ridden neighborhood and let your employees and your customers get assaulted and lose money, because that's how you fight racism, being the victim of crime. That would be like Gutfeld knocking off the McDonald's day after day after day. McDonald's then closes. I can't get a double Big Mac, and I don't blame Greg. I blame the McDonald's. No. It's the Hamburglar right there. That's who's guilty.
In his outfit. Judge, the other thing is that companies, these especially retail companies and Starbucks, et cetera, have told their employees, you can't stop people from stealing. You can't get in the way. You have to just basically sit back and let them. And if they have gotten involved, then they get fired.
They get fired, yeah. And it shows Gavin Newsom's how egotistical he is and how unconnected he is to workers. I mean, it's not just the Karen part of it. It's, you know, where call your manager. When he says, I'm not taking a photo, you know, he's angry because she recognizes that the governor has a role as it relates to crime, and he's not doing enough. I spoke to Eric Sadell, who is one of the people who's running for DA against Gascon. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, you know, it's Proposition 47 is bad enough. And by the way, Gavin Newsom was lieutenant governor in 2014 when that law was passed. He didn't complain about it then. But the problem with Proposition 47 is that repeat offenders get to do it over and over and over again. And no one has addressed the fact that you get a freebie 950, 950, 950, 950. That's where the problem is. It's in the policy and the enforcement. But I do want to say that not only does Target say you can't arrest them in our store, we did that a couple months ago, and they say you can't confront them either. And one of the employees said, you know, all we do is we simply document how much they stole. But I want to say something about Ayanna Pressley. I feel for what she's saying, because the minority community is losing the ability to have a lifeline of medications from drugstores that they desperately need. Yep. And here's where the problem is. She doesn't understand what the root cause is. The root cause is crime. And she's got to, instead of going after corporate Walgreens, she's got to say we've got to fight crime, stop the crime, so that employees can go in and the minority community can get the medicine they want. She feels that Walgreens somehow is like a state-sponsored corporation and that the Walgreens should be charged or somehow responsible. No, this is capitalism. Go after the real problem.
Richard, it's good to have you back here. Let me just give you the floor. You can comment on anything you want.
There's a lot to comment on. I actually agree with the judge. I think what the congressman was trying to say is in communities of color where you see health disparities very high, and many of these communities are also health deserts, right? The ideal of being able to get your prescription drugs for senior citizens a block away is really important. And listen, I think we do have to figure out how we work on addressing some of these crimes and how we work on making sure that these pharmacies have the other things that they need, like lotions and soaps that are being stolen. But I also think it's important to applaud where we've been. At the beginning of the pandemic, we saw a skyrocket in crime. All across the country, what we're seeing now, according to the FBI, is a decrease in crime, right? Violent crime has decreased 8% nationwide. Property crime has decreased 6.3%. In Chicago, fatal shootings have decreased 16%. Homicides have decreased 13%.
It ran out of victims.
In St. Louis and Baltimore, we've seen fewer murders. We've seen the fewest murders in the past decade. Detroit has had the least amount of murders since 1966. These are good things, and we should applaud that. And now it's on what can we do to make sure that people aren't stealing from the Walgreens and stealing from the CVS. But it's important to applaud the policies that are working to decrease many of these crimes that are already happening. And in Chicago, what you're seeing is there's peace agreements between gangs. gangs. You're seeing access to more resources in communities of color where we're seeing high levels of crime to decrease folks getting into crime to begin with. And all of those things are steps in the right direction.
What are the policies that are working? Are you talking about more policing?
No, well, in some places, what you're seeing in Chicago, they're opening 24-hour rec centers, so young people have someplace to go instead of going to violent crime. You're also seeing them creating more resources in schools, right? So you can talk to a guidance counselor, you could talk to a social worker about what's happening in your home instead of having to resort to a gang or to get help in your community.
On this particular issue, do you blame Walgreens for making the decision that they're making?
Look, I've said all along on this particular issue, I think we have to, even when you think about cashless bail, which is one of the issues that get us to people committing the thefts that you see happening at this Walgreens, I think you have to make a distinction between crimes of desperation and people just doing stupid things. If a mom walks into a Walgreens and steals baby formula, the response is not to arrest her.
I don't think we're talking about Jean Valjean.
That is an argument that's so old.
Yeah.
No, but it's an argument that's still true. It could be old, but it doesn't take away
in these
the truth.
situations, it's not true.
I don't know a cop who would make an arrest in that case.
No, but there was a time that
that's the thing.
getting arrested for stealing baby formula.
AOC was laughed at about 2 years ago for saying that.
Because somebody was stealing bread.
Yeah, that's stealing
about
bread
that.
line.
Les
Come on,
Miserables.
Richard.
All right,
I'm telling the truth,
and I do just want to say that we all love Gavin Haddon. He's not a Karen. Ahead, one of the illegal immigrants who pounded cops to the...
The picture that sums up all the madness in our country. One of the illegals who wailed on 2 NYPD officers in Times Square and got no bail, flipping not one, but 2 birds as he walked out of court. The 22-year-old illegal giving 2 middle fingers to the country that welcomed him in. He's one of the 7 migrants arrested for the cop beatdown. So let me get this straight. He strolls across the border, was given free shelter, beat up cops, and suffered no consequences. And this is how he thanks us. And his other cop beating buddies were just as gracious, seen blowing kisses and smiling after they left court. And there was another delightful bird sighting. But it looks like liberal leaders are done being embarrassed by the ungrateful illegals. New York Governor Kathy Hochul and New York City Mayor Eric Adams are ready to send these bird-flipping migrants south for the winter.
Your response to police searching for additional suspects in the Times Square attack on police?
Get them all and send them back. You don't touch our police officers. You don't touch anybody.
Those who are breaking our laws, we need to re-examine the laws that don't allow us to deport them.
But some have already flown the coop. New York Post reporting police believe 4 of the criminals have already hopped on a bus to California. They allegedly gave fake names to a nonprofit that helps migrants get out of the city. Judge Jeanine, if you were representing one of these illegals, would you recommend the double bird?
Well, let me tell you this. If I were representing them, it would be in my next life.
I was going to say, it would be a cold day and
let me just put it this way. You're talking about flipping the bird, the middle finger. The mayor, the DA, the president, and the governor are all flipping us the middle finger. And I'll tell you why. The first problem is Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg didn't ask for any bail. These are Class C violent felonies. You can get bail. He didn't ask for bail. I want to know why. Number 2, why didn't Alvin Bragg put this case in the grand jury so they could have been arraigned in Superior Court and had bail set, and then they wouldn't have gone to California? That's where Alvin Bragg screwed up. Then you got Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul says, yeah, now it's a good idea after a reporter asked her. What I want to hear from the governor is this. I'm putting it in my governor's legislative package, and I want the legislature to vote on deportation, okay? The mayor is a former cop. I don't want to hear him just talking and talking. What he's got to do is call the DA and say, what are you doing and why are you not asking for bail? And in addition to that, the mayor should be headlining an effort to make the assault of a police officer an offense for which they can call in ICE. Because New York is a sanctuary city, you can only call in ICE on certain crimes. If the mayor really meant what he's saying, he could say, today, I want the council to change and include assault on a police officer. That's a fix there. Now, the problem with Joe Biden and his giving us the middle finger is the border. And Texas has just proved it. Since the end of January, Texas, because of its border and because of what they're doing to prevent them from coming in, they've got a huge drop in immigration, and it's all coming in now through Arizona and California. And let me say one more thing about this. These, I don't even want to call them people because they're not people. These people come here and they say they want asylum and we suckers believe it. They don't respect authority. They take authority down. One of the other ones we didn't know about yesterday was charged with resisting arrest. He pushed a cop last time a cop arrested him, in addition to their beating down the arrest. So I'm sick and tired of hearing this nonsense. They traveled 3,000 miles through the Darien Gap. It's one of the most dangerous places in the world because they want to be part of the American dream. Baloney. They don't want to be part of the American dream. They don't want to swear allegiance. They don't show up for their asylum hearing. And 85% of them who do don't get asylum.
Richard, why won't Democrats deport people like this?
I think they're trying to.
What do you mean they're trying to?
Listen, I'm going to tell you why. I mean, look, I agree with everything the judge said.
Again.
And we agree. Hey, listen. But here's what we know to be true. If you talk to the folks in Senator Kristen Sinema's office, which she briefed the press a couple of days ago, there's a border bill that the Democrats and Republicans are working to get done that would secure the border. It would end folks who cross. If you cross illegally, you would go immediately to jail, and then you would be immediately deported. It would allow the federal government to buy planes to do faster deportations, right? It would hire more border personnel. It would increase the amount of immigration judges. So right now, if somebody's seeking asylum in this country and they get a notice to go to court, they don't see a judge until 2027. This bill would speed that up. Sadly, given all of that, we have folks in the House that say they're going to vote no on this just because.
But
and
Joe
that's
Biden
problematic.
is the one who got rid of Remain in Mexico. He got rid of Remain in Mexico.
To be fair,
kept
I'll
them
give
in
you that.
Mexico. You got to give me that.
But the judge also last week in South Carolina, the president said, let's secure this border and let's pass this bill right now.
He doesn't need Congress. He can do it himself, Richard.
But why not have Congress do it?
They don't need to. He can shut it down.
To buy more planes?
He can shut it
to
down.
To hire more
right
judges?
now,
We're already flying.
To hire more border patrol?
I love that photo.
He can shut it
though.
down whenever he wants.
I love that photo. Can we put that up there again? The one that we just had. That is a great photo. And I love that we blurred the finger. I think we can handle it. You know, it's not like we're trying to protect the identity of his middle finger. It's not like his finger's underage. I mean, it's true. It's like, I think it's important to see the reality of this situation, right? If a picture's worth 1,000 words, that one is worth 10 million. And it's an old adage in television. If you want to see the truth, turn the sound off. I do that with Jesse's show. When you take away all the ranting and the raving and the politics and the grandstanding and the shrieking, you have one singular photo that tells you everything about the basic nature of human behavior. That is, they disrespect you because they can. They disrespect you because you're weak. What you're seeing right there is how far we've gone down this path. There's no disincentives. There's no consequences. It's the land of the free for criminals. The American dream is America reamed when these people come here. And I do think, you know, the busing of the migrants to the sanctuary cities was a brilliant move. The next step is transporting any illegal with a record to the neighborhood of the elites who support these policies, because something tells me these migrants won't be trimming your hedges or doing your dishes.
Dana.
Well, one thing about these guys that escaped, I think it will turn out to be 5 of them, and they used false IDs to get on the buses. So there's another crime. And also, they said they're going to California. Anyone believe they're going to make it all the way to California? Yeah. So now they're going to be in some other place. Welcome to Middle America. And now they've got a problem. Hopefully, they will be too dumb to get off in a sanctuary state or sanctuary city. And they could call ICE where they could be deported. And lest you think that Joe Biden's the only problem on the border, today, 150 House Democrats voted against deporting illegal immigrants who commit DUIs. So
they voted against that
150
today?
Democrats voted against that today. Now, maybe there's something else in the bill, et cetera, but over and over, Republicans are putting them on record as to what they want and what they believe.
Okay. And if we're going to put anything on record, my show is pretty good with the volume down. Watch it anyway.
You still get the rating.
That's right.
Yeah, because you look great.
Up next, thank you, Judge. Joe Biden's green jihad gets dumber. The Biden administration is now classifying Martha's Vineyard as low income to pump up his pricey electric vehicles.
How's this for a green energy scam? The Biden administration is classifying some of the country's most elite and exclusive locales as low-income areas. so they can get EV tax credits. The wealthy enclaves range from Barack Obama's favorite vacation spot of Martha's Vineyard to Joe Biden's beach house community of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where he keeps the Corvette, among other things. Speaking of the big guy, Biden was just bragging about electric buses that have been breaking down in cities across the country.
And so we're going from this to this. Whoa. We received funds from your administration, $21 million, to purchase electric buses. And so we are on our way to having a low to no emission transit fleet in the city of Tucson.
If you want to get a job done, give it to a mayor.
It's like story time at the home. And his Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, seems to be in denial as more car companies pull the plug on electric cars.
This movement toward electrification, I think, is inexorable. It is happening. CEOs will tell you they're not pulling back or reversing trend in their investments. They may be slowing a little bit, but honestly, I think this is it's a snowball that's going downhill that is only going to accelerate.
Faster than an EV car. Jesse, why would they choose Martha's Vineyard? Is it so the help can get to the estates of the rich and powerful? Is this like something selfish disguised as climate and compassion?
Well, I mean, if they can reclassify a man as a woman, they can reclassify the vineyard as the projects. They can do whatever they want, Greg. It's just words. You know the average price of a house is $2.3 million in Martha's Vineyard? I don't think Barack Obama would move to a low-income neighborhood. Same with Montauk. There's like Calvin Klein, some of Judge Jeanine's wealthy friends out there. I mean, no one really is going there without a... So John Kerry, I think, Spike Lee, all have homes here. No one in a low-income situation needs an EV plug-in. Have you seen Johnny go to the projects? Johnny goes to the projects and says, Joe Biden has just given this neighborhood $30 million. And everyone goes, yeah! And they, well, what do you need? And they go, we need new this, we need that. And she goes, sorry, you're getting an electric car plug-in. And they go, what the No one wants this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Why would they do this? Is it because they figured that neighborhood would be amenable to it?
So they're looking for the early adopters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because and with any new technology, it takes an early adopter to be like comfortable with all the discomforts of it and the frustrations. But for these people, it's their third or fourth car,
right? And
they cost $60,000. They don't care.
Yeah.
So that you can afford to have something like this at the beach or on the vineyard because you took your private plane to get there.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Richard, it's not a replacement for anything. For the rich and powerful, it's an adjunct. Is that the right term?
In addition?
Yeah, in addition.
Listen, I tend to agree with that. But I think Dana makes a point, right? I think part of it is getting to early adapters. I think the other part, right, and when you look at the policy and you talk to some of the folks in the Biden administration, they would say to you, we're trying to create a network of power charging stations. So you can drive from California to New York City without having to be...
Richard, it's an island. Nantucket is an island.
Yeah, but Nantucket is also...
and it's this big,
Hold on
Richard.
a minute. Hold on a minute.
You just need a bike there.
Listen, if you look at the U.S. Census data, Nantucket and Montauk are considered rural communities, right? I'm not lying to you. This is exactly what the census data says.
Okay.
So the ideal is we need to put charging stations in rural communities, whether it's in Mississippi or it's in New York.
Are there any in Mississippi?
There should be some.
I'm trying to take it seriously, but
you
I
should
can't.
Listen. Go to the census data and talk about how they claim tracts of
taking
land.
the whole idea of putting these in Martha's Vineyards.
I'm not defending it. I'm telling you what the policy says. Right? I hear that. I might tend to agree with you. I'm telling you what the policy is and isn't. And I think the goal is to try to create a nationwide power charging system so you can drive your expensive Tesla across the country.
Wait a minute. I don't know what the number. I'm next. Thank you. I don't know what the number is, but we did this a couple weeks ago where there was like $7 billion or something, and they hadn't installed one charging station. This administration's really on their game. And that loser, Granholm, the energy secretary, this thing is going to snowball. Is she kidding? First of all, the electric vehicle interest in 1 year went down from 49% to 41%, but among Generation Z, it went from 61 to 49%. And all all this hogwash about putting it in low-income places. Greenwich, the average price of a home is $1.9 million. Okay, and what they're trying to do is, if they're trying to help low-income people, they're not doing that. Because if they were, they'd put it in Chicago, and they're not doing that. They're putting it in Martha's Vineyard and Greenwich because they're hoping that the rich people will buy that car.
Yep.
They're speaking to their next audience of who's going to buy the car. So it's a bunch of nonsense. They're all full of it. And Ford production, we did this a few weeks ago. They cut production of EV cars by 50%. Hertz lost something like $250,000 or $500,000 in rentals. It's a nightmare.
All right. Speaking of nightmare, up ahead, Elon Musk goes for
robot revolution. Elon Musk is freaking people out again after posting this video, which shows him taking Tesla's life-size robot for a walk. The bot's name is Optimus. It stands about 5 feet 11 inches tall, deadlifts 150 pounds, and runs 5 miles per hour. Musk envisions a future where these bots perform, quote, unsafe, repetitive, or boring tasks. And if that tech doesn't frighten you, how about this? People are going crazy for Apple's new virtual reality goggles. The company has already sold out of its Vision Pro headsets, which cost a whopping $3,500. Now, Jesse, if you had $3,500 to throw away, would you get that virtual reality headset?
No, I'm going to get an electric bike because there's a lot of places in my neighborhood I'd like to explore. And when I'm looking out the window of my car, I keep almost hitting other cars when I'm looking around. So I'm going to go with the electric bike instead. My executive producer is buying one of these things.
Yeah.
He's one of these tech freaks. I don't understand it. I'll let him tell me how it is. But why do we need all the migrants if we have Optimus, Judge? Optimus is going to save marriages across the country. Not only is this thing going to do all of the laundry, the cooking, and the tidying up, it's going to make people less lonely. The guys can watch the game with Optimus. The wives can talk to Optimus while they straighten up, do whatever. You could also have the thing spy on people. Send it to the other room. What is my wife up to? What has she been doing? Optimus, go hither.
You know what, Greg? I got to tell you, he walks just like Joe Biden.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like he's sharded.
Yeah, well,
You know what I mean? I think that we're right at the moment that is a lot like, it's actually bigger than the moment before computers, internet, and smartphones. It's what, you always wish, like, oh, God, why couldn't I bought some Apple or Microsoft stock back then? You have the opportunity now. I mean, you're at that moment because everybody is going to have a robot. They're going to go down in price. It's going to be an affordable appliance. And the scope of this is beyond, and I'm an idiot for not buying stock, but here's the rub. Robots right now are like toasters. They only live in the moment. It's only, alive when it's on. But what happens when it's able to develop memory by learning your likes and your dislikes, your habits and your needs? That becomes its past, right? It's got its past, its present. And then when it anticipates your needs, that becomes its future. So you have a past and a present and a future that moves and can make predictions based on all of your needs. So what you're going to end up with is a new version of a mind, perhaps a soul, that has a history and a future and understands harm and benefit. And once that happens, turning it off will be murder. And Scott Adams makes this great point. You get this guy, he's around you, he learns what you're like, he's going to develop its own politics based on yours. So you're going to have red bots and you're going to have blue bots. Nobody's going to want a woke bot. This will be in like 10 years. You're going to have robots that are just going to be, marching.
Okay.
Wow.
Dana, what about the fact that,
true.
I'm watching that thing fold laundry as Greg
I know,
was talking.
I was just like, I'm listening to Greg. And I'm thinking, what?
Thank you for listening.
You gave a lot of thought to that. I didn't think about it that much. All I was thinking was, if somebody could clean my closet and organize it for me, I'd be so happy. That would be the best. That would be the best.
Dana,
I need my own Rosie.
No, but I've been talking about this forever.
No, I know. Like, you think about it. I'm mostly only just concerned about jobs. And like, are we prepared for this? Like, what are we going to do on the jobs front for people? But I am excited for someone to clean my closet for me.
Yeah, but they have to know what you know and what you
Well,
like.
he's going
and
to
what
figure,
you
but
figure
the
it
robot's
out.
going to figure. She's going to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it a she, just for
Yeah, see,
the heck of
it could be
because
just
I
like you.
can't.
It'll love
You
country
know what?
music.
Because it can be both, Greg.
Yes, non-binary.
Oh,
Richard?
Lord.
Do you think it should be in the shape of a human?
No, but that's already happening, Greg. We're already seeing machine learning happening when you're writing emails, and like it starts to finish your emails for you based on what you've written before.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm not gonna lie. Like even on my trip to New York today, and I was in the airport, and I was like, wait, the machine is now printing your bag tags, and like you have to put it on yourself. I miss the days where you had like human cashiers and you had human